Greetings, brothers and sisters. So this happened, right? I got a long thing to do. I've already done this voice, so I've already done this screen grab, but I forgot to turn on the app, which I just checked now to make sure I did it. Didn't do it again. So I did this 20-minute whatever segment talking to myself without recording it, which is kind of a bummer. But anyways, I got this thing to get to that I think is, profound and maybe important. I mean, as far as anything on my channel is important in terms of understanding the truth community and how this demographic on the right and the left, the liberal and conservative truthers, get worked in different ways, right? Just like the, overall left and right paradigm. So I'm going to get into that because I've never talked about it before because I never had that, it was sort of a realization that came to me. Some stuff to do with Tommy Davidson and Dave Grohl and Hilaria, being totally Hilaria and not hilarious, but Hilaria. And this is Madam Expiration Date, who I have long associated with Will Smith. I started to cover them. Like I've had three, periods, where I do a bunch of videos about Will Smith or Madonna. I've done more on Madonna, maybe 5 different times, because Madonna is more, trying to be relevant. But I think of them, they're intertwined to me, interlinked, because they were both at the height of their careers at the same time. They were both iconic at the top of their respective careers as a movie star and a pop star, right, at the same time. They both made gobs of money. I don't know how much Will Smith is worth, but Madonna's worth like $865 million, close to $1 billion. And neither one of them can let it go, right? Both of them are desperate for attention, desperate to stay relevant. I mean, it's just, it's like bizarre, right? And so Madonna has a new album out, which I showed you. And the, song that they're pushing is a remix of a song called Frozen that was on one of her old albums. Like I kind of heard the song before, right? Whatever. But they've done a remix of it and did a video. And so that means, because Madonna doesn't write her own music, that means that she can't get anybody to write her a halfway decent pop song so she can feature it on an album. She's just got to ghoul up some of her old stuff, right? And she is like Will Smith, is so desperate to stay relevant. That's why I call her Madam Expiration Date. The other piece to this is, the jury on getting your lips enhanced is long been out, right? It doesn't make you look sexy. It doesn't make you look more attractive. It makes you look scary as F. It's very obvious, like the other things, right? Your fake butts and fake boobs and, Botox, they're covered up, right? I mean, not the Botox, but you can't really, the Botox doesn't make your lips swelled up like you just got stung by a frickin' killer hornet or something, right, on your mouth. And so it looks swollen. It doesn't look natural or desirable, and it's just scary. And of all the plastic surgery, and she's obviously had a lot of it, this is the one that stands out the most. When you see their face, you're like, what did you do to your effing lips, right? And Madonna, being totally clueless of this before the Grammys, released this, right? And so here it is. All right, what are you doing? Wait, stay back, you ghoul. You take those demon lips away from me. Wait, no. It's look at that right there. Like that's all you need to know. I mean, it looks like some kind of a shrew mouth, right? One of these, and just all of it, like the ghoulish, dead, cold eyes, and just all the, just plastic surgery she has, and she thinks she just rocked it, right? She thinks that she just, lit the internet on fire. She thinks that's sexy or something. The inability to self-perceive how scary and ghoulish this is. I mean, she just did that, right? And oh my God, right? Like, just don't do that anymore. This whole thing, right? This is just, it's keep those things away. They're like freaking swollen demon lips, right? So 2 of my friends, one of them on Instagram and one of them on Facebook, sent me that this morning, and thanks for that, right? But also I saw this here, so I would have covered it anyway. Madonna's unsettling pre-Grammy TikTok video sparks fan concern, right? And of course it should, but it's, this is long overdue. She's been crazy for a while. It says here, it's completely unsettling. Another commented, great, how am I supposed to close my eyes and sleep now? Right? And it's just, she's putting the G into ghoul here. This honestly scared me, I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to remember how fabulous she was in the 90s. She was an icon. Yeah, don't let the Madam Expiration Date, there's a big close-up of those, ghoul lips. So this was a mistake. And the bigger concern should be that she doesn't know, that she watched this and thought she rocked it. Like her disconnect from the way other people are going to see this and how embarrassing it is. And, this is Madam Expiration Date. You could call Will Smith Mr. Expiration Date, although it seems like Will's expiration date might have just come up. Let's go to Hilaria Baldwin next. So there's a picture of her and Alec Baldwin, which I thought was at the Grammys, but it's just some old picture. And this is her clueless post. Like, this is the year of the dummy. And they're pushing out lies, across the board. Hollywood celebrities and, all these various countries and governments and, the media. And they're definitely pandering just to stupid people. They've written off all the smarter people or people with critical thinking skills, and they're just pandering to the lowest level of consciousness in people. And this is what she wrote. You ask me from time to time in your darkest, saddest moments if we were to know all of what we would go through 11 years ago when we met, would I walk away? We didn't meet 11 years ago, right? The way she wrote this, it sounds like she's talking to me. But she's not. She's talking to this ghoul, right? And then you apologize through tears as to what some of this famous life has brought. This is, let's just read this here. You feel as though you roped me into being a sitting target. Again, this is something that she should write to him privately, because she is, a celebrity wannabe, right? She, roped Alec Baldwin in because she was a yoga instructor. And, she rolled out this fake persona to him, and they kept it going for all the rest of us, even though she was literally a white girl born in Boston to very Anglo parents, right? To Thomas and Hayward. Hillary Thomas Hayward was her name, right? Her legal name. She changed her name to Hilaria and, put on this fake accent, continued this fake accent that she roped Alec Baldwin in with. Her family has an obsession with Spain. Let's play I'll just play the montage here.
Consider the source.
Oh, she's a white girl? Yes, I am a white girl. I am a white girl.
So, for example, my wife's on the phone with her hairdresser or her friend. She's like, really? Okay, I can't wait to see you. That's going to be great. Fantastic. What time? 12 o'clock? My wife is from Spain. Mm-hmm. And she said, blah, blah, blah.
We have very few ingredients. We have tomatoes. We have, how do you say it? Cucumbers. We have red pepper. We have, of course...
It's not easy, and I think part of it is that I'm in shape before I have a baby, and then I stay active when I'm pregnant, and I'm not trying to stay thin, I'm just trying to keep my circulation going and stretching and keep my muscle tone up, and then we're having a baby. It was a surprise, a wonderful surprise.
And one time at band camp.
It was a surprise, a wonderful surprise.
And one time at band camp.
It was a surprise, a wonderful surprise.
Well, there was a scream I heard, which is the scream that's normally reserved if there's a spider in the house on Long Island. I'm not exaggerating.
So the first part of the book is philosophy on how to live very namaste. I have 3 little babies. I live kind of a crazy life between work and them and everything else. So it's just, how to stay calm and centered and deal with things that are coming at you. Then we could talk about food.
Consider the source.
Oh, she's a white girl? Yes, I am a white girl. I am a white girl.
And it was okay until she got caught. But she went from being a yoga instructor to being somebody who had her own, she's written books, and she was going on talk shows, and she was featured on Hollywood Reporter, and she, could have been just a quiet, introverted type of, stay-at-home housewife for Alec Baldwin, and not been in the spotlight, and not, cultivated her own celebrity, right? She has almost 1 million followers on Instagram, and I think she used to have many more, right? And so she became somebody who started shilling for her own products and doing her own, she had her own fame aside from Alec Baldwin. She liked it. She wouldn't have got that anywhere else, right? But then she got caught being a faker and a fraud and a poser and, appropriating a culture. And it didn't sit well with people who already were mad at Alec Baldwin for being a douche to Trump when Alec Baldwin has the same personality characteristics as Trump, right? You hate what you are, right? You hate the stuff that you hate about yourself and other people. And Alec Baldwin, who isn't as fun as Trump, is a liberal version of Trump, right? And, he posted all this stuff on Instagram, and then he shot a cast member, and didn't take responsibility for it. And so they Will Smith themselves, right? It's their own fault. Like, they were deceptive, and, all these celebrities are, but they were on a different level. And so she says, you feel as though you roped me into being a sitting target. I don't see it this way. And the answer to your question is I do it 1 million times, Alec. My name's not Alec. You know why? It's like she's writing a letter to you, the reader. The joyful moments, the scary moments, the passion, the sadness, the amazing people, the frustration, the confusion, the adventure, the laughter, the being a wife and a mother. Yes, Alec, I'd sign up for it again and again. Like she is.
Well, we're having a baby. How about that for a project?
Ay, ay, ay.
Cravings here. Okay.
Sí. Ay, ay, ay. Sí. Ay, ay, ay. Sí.
She just sucks so bad. Again, if this was like sincere, she wouldn't show it to the rest of us. Like, it wouldn't be something she put out into the public. She wants people to see how great she is. Like when she rescued that woman the other day, fakely in her Instagram post. Yes, Alec, I signed up for it again and again. I know that life is both sweet and bitter. Here you are, in this photo, at the beginning of our relationship, holding me tight. I was so nervous with all those cameras, but it was safe and stable. As I leaned back in your arms, that's where our power together has always been. And may we always come back to this. It's just so brutal. On your birthday, it's his birthday. On your birthday, may I remind you, as your best friend, to live life. You got to live life. Stop dying life. You got to live life. Those who truly know you, who know your heart, your courage, your fears, your weaknesses, your strengths, and your joys, we want you to live and enjoy each moment. Dial down the negative noise. It is a distraction. This is, she's exposing their personal life to everybody on Instagram. Is a distraction from what life is about. The devil creeping in, an attempt to cheapen your time on earth. You are a man who has lived amazing moments, given to so many, and have suffered incredible pain that has left such a visible trauma. We are all here to help you heal and get back to you. Get back to you, Alex. You're not being enough you. As we all love you. Alec, me, your children, your family, your friends, and so many people who are reading this now. There's just all this love pouring out for Alec. You deserve this and so much more. We love you, and happy birthday, Alec Baldwin Instag. That's just absolutely savage and brutal on every possible level. So, a long time ago, there was a guy in the Heartfulness, meditation, some sort of senior member. He's a little bit crazy. And he was, there was these channeled messages in the Heartfulness system from this French woman. He was jealous of her, and he wanted to be a channeler himself. And, I was talking about some of the troubles I had with the organization. And he wrote me this, like it was a channeled message. And like, I didn't like receiving it because it was just completely narcissistic and off the mark from his point, right? So it was annoying. When somebody writes something like this to you, like a pep talk, it's just, condescending. And I mean, she's always condescending, even though she doesn't even have any clue. Like, she's not a smart person. She doesn't have anything to be condescending about. And so when you get something like this, it's, it's off-putting, right? It's not a pep talk. It's not like, You know, like it's fake. She's fake. He's fake, 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 fake.
Fake, 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 fake.
And, you know, it's sucky just to receive this personally. Like, I would stop reading it, right? If this was to me, and I'd, you know, ban the person. I mean, I don't know, you know, whatever, whatever that meant, banning the person, right? So this guy writes this thing to me. And then he sends it out to the, you know, future master of the system, Dodgy Kamlesh Patel, and all these other people, bragging about how, you know, he was channeling and he was, right, he like just showing off, right? And I'm like, dude, like, you know, but he revealed private things that we'd talked about the organization that I didn't want these people to hear, right? And this is the same kind of thing. These personalities, that she's writing this for herself and not for him. She's posturing and posing. They're posers. You know, all these guys, Madonna, Will Smith, I mean, all of Hollywood, and these guys in particular, right? These, you know, Madonna, Will Smith, Alec Baldwin, they're like top of the list, and his wife is a bigger poser than he is, right? And it's not real. Like, that's not real love. So, Tommy Davidson went on some local news show in New York. He was a guy in Living Color, and apparently he was in a movie with Jada Smith. Yeah, I didn't see it either. And she was his co-star. And it was so low budget, they didn't have time to rehearse things. And so he, or, you know, they didn't rehearse things. And he was supposed to kiss Jada at the end of the film. And the producer said they'd cleared it with Jada, which I don't know why they would have to. But, you know, they didn't. So he didn't. He went and kissed her and she wasn't ready for it, whatever it is. And so then Will Smith stormed into his dressing room. This is something he wrote in a book. And so the interviewers pulled the story out of a book.
Told me that she didn't mind that we didn't rehearse it, and they didn't tell the truth. So Will comes into the trailer, and he, you know, is looking like the other night, walking towards me, you know.
You know when he got fake mad and slapped Chris Rock?
And I had no idea what he was talking about. So words were exchanged, and you know, I asked him, let's go outside, and Jada didn't let it get to that level.
Because Jada was a voice of reason in this in this confrontation. Jada settled everything down. She, you know, she just wants to heal. She just wants to bring everybody to the table and heal. And so, you know, this is relevant, I guess, in some way. Okay, so YouTube recommended this video for me this morning.
I felt the only way I could make that movie is it had to be a love story, not a vengeance story. I don't believe in violence as the reaction to violence.
He doesn't believe in violence as a reaction to violence.
So when I'm looking at that, it's like, no. It has to be for love. The only way he can retrieve his love is to do this. He can't want to be this.
You know, he knows nothing about love. Which we've already established 3 videos ago.
No. Like, violence begets violence. For me, I just couldn't connect to...
All right, somebody's, you know, doctored this with music and made it stupid. It's almost got 100,000 views.
To violence being the answer.
So, you know, they are on the most superficial level of this thing, right? See, I've been covering this for a while. I'm going to make a compilation. I'll talk about this more in the compilation, right? Of all the stuff I know about Will Smith being a fraud. I have, like, the beginnings of it. I'm going to, you know, get it done hopefully by this weekend or whatever it is. Just clips from my past videos. You know, this is the most superficial level. When you go to deeper levels of anything, you know, you're going to get a smaller and smaller audience, right? So I've been covering Will Smith as a fraud since 2014, right? And what else is he going to say? Of course he's going to say love is better than violence. And I mean, this is what, you know, Will Smith is so contrived and cliche and, you know, he's such a fake. I mean, they're all like politicians and they all have brands. They're in this actors, whatever it is, right? But we know that he's a complete fraud. So of course he's going to say something like this. And, you know, if you asked him now, he would say the same thing. He just snapped, or, you know, he did it all for love, or whatever he was saying, right? This isn't hypocrisy. It's a bad video. Somebody manipulated the video. They added music and, you know, the thing at the end was a nice touch, but it's not, it's a superficial level, taking the mainstream official story that he did this as a way to protect his wife, and it wasn't fake, it wasn't staged, it was a real event. And then they're saying this is hypocrisy. What's really hypocrisy is that Will Smith was in violent movie after violent movie, and his position is, revenge and violence. I mean, that's been a big part of all these movies, revenge and violence. There's violence porn, Hollywood, which is against, guns, against all these, it's supposed to be, many of them are vegans, right? Many of them are, or at least they pretend to be vegans, And so there's all this liberal hippie, energy and peace and love and things, and they make the most violent movies and video games, and they appeal to, people's lower instincts. And that's what the hypocrisy is, But anyways. And so this is a band, I believe, called Ghost. And the members are referred to, a viewer sent this to me. I know nothing about this, right? I knew very little about Dave Grohl. I didn't know he was even a member of Nirvana. Until the Studio 666 came out, I knew virtually nothing about the Foo Fighters, right? I mean, I might have heard some of their songs and not known it, right? I've heard their name. But some person sent this to me, a viewer. And this guy dressed in a silver devil mask is a part of a group called the Nameless Ghouls. I guess I'm not sure how this plays out. Like, they're also called Ghost. But he's being interviewed by this guy about Dave Grohl, and this happened.
Dave Grohl has dressed up as a nameless ghoul and secretly performed with Ghost in the past.
It is true.
It is true. Look at how happy this guy gets. This guy's wearing a Baphomet shirt with a pentagram, right? And so I don't know what that says there, but he's talking to this guy who's got a devil mask on. He's really excited.
In the sense that he has put on...
Wow. Let's watch that again.
In the sense that he has put on clothes and played Ghost songs.
That's so... Do you remember which...
That's so cool. Dave Grohl was once a nameless ghoul putting on the devil mask. Why wear devil masks, right? Like, it's not a joke, right? It's not a funny joke. It's not ironic. Maybe you don't believe in the devil, that's fine. If you don't believe in it, then why are you putting on the mask, right? Are you trying to be tough? You're trying to be edgy? Well, what is it about putting on devil masks and embracing satanic? There's a real satanic, church and all these things, right? Like, why do that? Like, why be a nameless ghoul? Why not be something positive, right? Why, dive into the dark abyss, right? And Dave Grohl is constantly doing this. Then one of my viewers also sent me this, two different people.
One thing? I'm going to say it one more time.
I know, but one thing.
I'm going to say it one more time.
May I have a selfie?
I stopped signing shit unless it's for charity.
So he doesn't want to sign autographs for his fans. His fans are going to call BS on his policy here in a second. I don't have a problem with that because I wouldn't sign autographs, but then I don't want to be famous either, right? But that would be, as a dyslexic person and having, difficult time handwriting, that to me wouldn't be a fun thing. Or taking selfies with people I don't, that stuff. But that's part of being a celebrity. It is what it is. I don't have a problem with his policy or what he's saying here. It's how he's saying it and who he is, right?
Okay.
Can we donate something? Can we donate?
You said that in New York and then signed in D.C. the next day.
That's it.
Can you write my name on it, please?
You can write my son's name on it.
Here's the other thing. See you.
Come on, Dave.
No, I thought that was funny. Like, him jetting out his fans. I thought that was funny. The problem with him, there's a lot of posers, and I need to talk more and more about posers because it's a big part of it. I dislike posers, like people trying to fake like they're nice or fake that they're whatever they are. And he's posing as being somebody, whatever the rock, heavy metal, and the, all this stuff that they do. It comes from like people who really enjoy it, right? Who really, it's everyone else would be a poser, right? People who produce really good music. And this guy, he just has this, like if you shaved his beard and you cut his hair, he could play some sort of corporate weasel, right? Some like, Weasley corporate, lawyerly type of guy in some movie, and he totally fit the part. This dude's wearing a mask here, but not as some rocker, right? He's just, it's just how he is as a person. It's not congruent to what, he's this part that he's playing, right? So there's a movie called Edge of Tomorrow. This is the end of the movie. And I kind of like the movie. I like these movies that are, metaphors for past lives, which I just talk about I did a long 8-hour video that's finally got uploaded on my Journey Heartfulness thing. I don't know when that's going to be. I'm gonna make it public, but it's there. And this movie, they're fighting aliens, and they're coming together, and the world is coming together. The world's nation and armies are coming together to fight these aliens off, right? And then one of my viewers saw this or remembered this and sent it to me.
Capacity to fight. Russian and Chinese troops are now moving across Europe without resistance.
And so, in the context of the movie, they're all working together, and the resistance would have been aliens, right? But in the context of what's going on now in the world, Russian and Chinese forces moving across Europe has a completely different connotation. So that's all interesting, right? Kanye West skips Grammys 2022 after telling Kim Kardashian he's going away. Well, that's self-explanatory. Louis C.K. who admitted to sexual misconduct in 2017 wins a Grammy. I don't think this was covered. I don't think it was part of the show because it was a comedy album. And you listen who he's nominated against, right? So this is the people he was nominated. These were the other nominees. Lavelle Crawford, The Comedy Vaccine. Well, so does that mean... I don't even know what that would be in terms of a comedy routine. Chelsea Handler, the non-funny Chelsea Handler Evolution, right? So she had a comedy bit. Like, she sucks. Lewis Black, Thanks for Risking Your Life. He's, I guess funny in some kind of way, but not a great comedian, right? Nate Barsgatz, The Greatest Average American. I don't know what he is. And Kevin Hart, it was, a little bit funny, but, he's been the same guy in every movie he's kind of played out, right? And he's not, like, hilariously funny, right? And so, and I'm sure Kevin Hart's already won some Grammys because he's, produces all this content. And so clearly, just from the names alone, Louis C.K. had the best comedy album. I could just tell, right? Certainly when you're going against Chelsea Handler and Lewis Black, right? There's no real competition there, right? And so all these people are upset that, after having this misconduct stuff, that he wins a Grammy. But the award is not about, something that happened some years ago. It's about who would have it's supposed to be the best comedy album. That's the thing here. Won the award for best comedy album. It wasn't for being the best person. And I saw this, I saw his this, whatever it is. I listened to it. My wife and I, when we were traveling, we listened to this, comedy bit. And some of it was kind of, it was really kind of, perverted and kind of gross, right? Like, it wasn't one of his better comedy albums, but I know it's better than the rest of these things. And that's what the award's supposed to be for. But people are somewhat outraged for something that wasn't even televised, because I look for it, seeing him get the award to see how the crowd reacted. But it wasn't, televised. So, it is whatever it is. Okay, so I had this idea. I was talking to my wife about it maybe 2 days ago, and I really wanted to put this voiceover in other videos, but I was, just didn't have enough time. And then somebody left me a great comment, a bunch of comments I got about Trump, because I said some things about Trump, and I had some Trumpers leaving stupid Trumper comments, right, that feed into this. So I'll read the one comment here first, and then talk about understanding these dynamics. So this person writes, here, let me find the comment here. And the person's quoting me. I'm not saying it was rigged like the right-wing people are. And the person said, whoa. I was talking about the Trump election, right? And I went into talking about how, it was the whole system's rigged. And it was whatever I did. Like I can kind of remember what I said because it's a recent video. It's a video about Will Smith, and I was talking about Hunter Biden. So this person writes, I'm not saying it was rigged the right-wing people like the right-wing people are. Whoa, you lost me there. It's hard to believe anybody as intelligent as you are doesn't know the 2020 election was stolen. Do you also consider the blankety blank an insurrection? And so this person's banned, because there is an element of comments where people are disappointed with you, right? And you should save it for yourself. If you get disappointed with me, just stop watching my videos, right? Like if you think that, somehow I'm beneath you or, I made a mistake or whatever it is. I've talked about this before. Like these comments where a person's like, oh, you disappointed me, where they like your videos, they like you, and they trust you, and then you say something that goes against their fundamental, they get butthurt over some, internal belief that's so rigid in their system they can't even imagine a different interpretation. And in this case, the person is looking down at me when they should be looking up, right? Which often happens, where people's ability to synthesize and understand what's going on around them is at a more remedial level, is at a beginner stage, and there's somebody who's on a higher level of their comprehension, and instead of, rising up to the higher level or understanding that where they are now is just a, wherever you are now should be a temporary location, right? Both spiritually, most importantly, spiritually. There's no stagnant position in your spiritual evolution. You're either going up or you're going down, right? You're either going forward or you're going backwards. There's no, there's no place to just sit and rest. The same thing with being a truther. And so I want to get into the right wing and left wing stuff, and this is a good jumping off point, right? But just to, talk about what this person is saying, my position, which is a more insightful position, just because, that's a beginner level position where you're coming in from the right or the left or whatever, you used to believe. And then you just buy into the truther 101, the kindergarten level of truther, right? Of being a truther. So what we know about Trump and the way the, electoral system works, it's already rigged ahead of time. Like all of it's rigged. These guys are being selected. They say presidents aren't elected, they're selected. And so when Trump was, made president, that was rigged, and the whole thing was rigged for Trump. You think they let Trump become a billionaire? They let Trump run for president? They let Trump be a reality TV star without handling him and controlling him? We know who handles him and control him. They all have powerful groups behind him. And Trump's groups were the bankers. The bankers loved Trump and what he did for them as president. We know Israel because of his son-in-law, and what Trump said about Israel was very popular in Israel. We know Israel was a power broker for Trump. And we know Wall Street loved him, right? So the bankers, Israel, and Wall Street, among whatever other powerful groups that were behind Trump, right? For whatever they got out of Trump. And the left wing loved Trump as well because they pushed through all their agenda. Trump was a great catalyst for a left-wing, sweeping left-wing social change that happened under his presidency. And he, didn't do anything about it. And then Trump, at the end, sold out his followers like he always does. That whole thing. I'm not going to get into that whole event. But it was already pre-decided, right? And the reason they did it the way they did it, to make it look like it was stolen from Trump, was to rile up the right wing and to demonize them in the truth community and, the QBs. And, they weaponized the QBs against the truth community and all of it. And so if you're a Trumper, you're lost. Like if you're still a Trumper, especially the way he bailed on all his followers that he lured up to, D.C., set him up. Trump got worked and played and all these things. Unless he was completely complicit and was part of the plan. I think he wasn't part of the plan. I think he was just stupid enough to consistently get worked by the powers that be. So that's the jumping off point because, I wanted to talk about that, and it was convenient. There was a number of other people left comments where I said if they didn't arrest Trump, they're not going to arrest Hunter Biden. And people were like, why would they arrest Trump? What are you talking about? Because the criminal justice system, especially on that level, doesn't work. It's not justice. If they burn a Bernie Madoff or they arrest a Trump because they've done something, they're burning people in the power structure, and there has to be a reason for it, right? They can't randomly just burn people in the power structure because that would rattle all the other people who are doing criminal activity, right? Like, unless you go against the powers that be, they're not going to burn you. And so they're not going to put Hunter Biden in jail. They're not going to put Trump in jail. I might be surprised if they put Trump in jail, unless he's done something to piss off the powers that be. But I think they loved what Trump did. Trump was such a divisive figure. I think Trump is, more or less going to be rewarded for his work in, bringing about what is going to be the end of America. So going to this idea of the right wing and left wing truthers, and the right and left wing, and how they're managed. And so the right wing, it's managed with fear of change, right? And the left wing is is handled by the idea of anger against progress being blocked. And so how that plays out in the truth community, it plays out on the Republican level, in the mainstream level, and in the truth community, it plays out with all these right-wing truthers constantly hitting the fear button of how everything that you know about America is going to be taken away. So that's, Trump was the ultimate version of Make America Great Again. That the America that you know, right? My wife and I just watched the fourth season of Yellowstone, right? And the Kevin Costner character is, making a speech where he's, spoiler alert, where he's running for governor, right? And he's, most people probably already watched this a while ago. And he talks about, they're worried, these Montana cowboys are worried about all these liberals, these liberals that invade these areas like in Colorado, and all these California people that find these nice areas out in, these rural places that used to be just right-wing cowboys, and how they bring in their liberal values and they get rid of the traditional way of living around there, right? And so he says he's the wall that progress breaks itself against, right? He's anti-progress. And that's the, Donald Trump message and what the right wing wants to hear. Because the right wing has been fed, and they're not your friends, the people doing this. The truthers that do this are not your friends. They're not your, they're not your allies. They're exploiting a dysfunctional part of your psychological makeup. And all the right-wing people have this fear that, everything they grew up, the America they grew up with, and it's whether it's the right-wing truthers or it's the right-wing Republicans, the Trumpers, there's a difference here, but it's the same policies, the same dynamic. And so they keep on saying, they're going to take this, they're going to take that, right? The powers that be, the New World Order is going to take this, they're going to take that, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, right? And it's a constant. And in the truth community, there's all these things. My wife was telling me something. We were going for a walk. And she listens to a lot more truthers, different kind of truthers. I mean, I don't listen to anybody unless somebody sends me a clip of something that is something I might, cover myself, and which is almost never, right? So even on my YouTube feed, truthers don't show up, which I guess is fairly normal. But I don't listen to other truthers because I want to have original perspective. Plus, it's like listen to somebody else do my job. It's not, it's not what I would do for entertainment. And so, I'm going to do my own thing, right? And I'm far away from the normal truthers, the two different, the left and right-wing truthers, and then all the other, traditional kind of truther way of looking at things, right? But she was telling me about something some right-wing truther was saying that was going to happen or whatever. And I said, you can't worry about this because there's so many things I heard, whether it was going to happen or it did happen, things that they said, coming from the Alex Jones model, the right-wing truthers coming from Alex Jones, saying something was going to happen, and it never happened. It just never happened, just stirring up the fear of something that never happened. And, or the other thing was saying something that was going to happen, and when it did happen, it was going to be the end of the end, It happened, and then it didn't really, register as much of anything, right? And so these sort of fear porn, disaster porn type of right-wing truthers, they're not helping anybody out. They're just looking for, to scare you about what you think is your entitlement to your life or whatever being taken away. And you have a fear of this, and then they turn the fear into anger, right? And so what happened with Trump and his supporters, they had a fear of this thing happening. They put out this fear that, the election was going to be stolen from Trump, and then the fear turned to anger, and they worked everybody to get the desired result, to demonize Trump and the right-wing people in the so-called truth community and the QBs and the rest of them, right? It's, falling for a trap that's been carefully laid out by the powers that be, because they're the ones who are pulling the strings. And then on the left, it's anger, right? It's anger that turns into fear, so it's the opposite. And so the left, they're told all the time that the right wing is preventing their progress, that the right wing is, beneath them, that they're, somehow, preventing what should happen, the logical, the educated people, the left wing, or the people that don't have anything, right? So you have people who have things, people who have property, people who have, traditions and things that don't want to lose them on the right. And you have people who don't have anything because they haven't worked for it, right? Who expect to be given things, and they're told that they have to get it from the people who already have stuff. They have to take it from them, or they have to have the government take it from them through taxes and give it to the left wing, right? So the difference here is the left wing has got this idea that the right wing is blocking the progress of the United States on a social level, on a cultural level, and a governmental level. And they are preventing the right things, the progress from happening, where the right wing are told that the progress is coming in to take away everything that you know and love, right? So this is where the war happens. And there's truthers on both sides that, use the fear porn for the right and the anger porn for the left to, get views and exacerbate the situation. I mean, those people are shills and whatever they are. They're not there as a voice of reason. And, I can say to both groups, if you're a part of either group, I can say with complete confidence in everything that I've seen, and somebody who's been right, on the big things, I think, close to 100%, right? Just in terms of my ability to have pattern recognition and seeing the way this plays out, that eventually you're going to lose everything to the right. There's no reason to bitch about it. It's coming from God. The system has to come down, and everything is your American life. There's no money left. The debt's, it's coming down, right? There's no reason to freak out every time you hear something, because you just got to wait till things happen, because you can't prevent them, right? It's going to happen in one way or another. There's no stopping it, right? And to the left wing, when and if they give you the things that you think you want to have, it's going to tear down the system, and it's going to, probably smack you in the face more than anybody else. And the agenda that they're pushing that you think is so great, you're going to come to hate later on. And your kids are going to come to hate it if you don't. Your kids are going to hate you and, the agenda that you pushed through, right? And history will hate you as well. And so, there's no reason to buy into either side of it. That this is, divinely orchestrated. There's something that's going to, bring the system down. And then there's something, hopefully, that's going to build a better system in its place, coming from a more divine, less subjective. And, because both sides know that on some level you're doing wrong. You know that you're selfish. You know that you're materialistic. You know that you're disconnected from God, right? Even if you think you go to church or you think you're religious, deep down you know. I talk about this in a video I made that's on my other channel, Station 11, and TV show, and The Day the Earth Stood Still movie, the remake, and the original. And I talk about this, that people know what's coming. Everyone knows that it's coming, right? We all have a sense of it. The animals know, his big changes, destruction and upheavals and things. And so what are we going to build in its place? That becomes the real question. How are we going to do better next time? And getting rid of your right and left paradigm and being sucked in by, these, controllers who, You think that you're doing something. They give you an enemy, which is the other side of the paradigm. But the system's always been rigged. There's no real democracy. There never really was. But, I mean, there was like democracy in the beginning where like women and black people couldn't vote, for example, right? Like only a certain group of people could vote. I mean, it's never been real democracy. There's never been real government by the people. It's maybe better on a local level. Sure. It's, I mean, there's that, but democracy doesn't even work because not everybody's equally contributing to the, system, right? Not everybody's, on the same level of intelligence or spiritual development. Democracy and rule by the people would never work because the people are dumb as fuck, right? The people are dummies. And so to think that the people could govern themselves, I mean, just look at the people. Go into Walmart and say, hey, these people could totally govern themselves. I mean, go to, just look around you. You think the people that you're interacting with on the internet could govern themselves? I mean, they're just completely, dumb and like ignorant and, uneducated and just disconnected from God and nature and all these things. And so, there's this idea that the government, and there's another right-wing truther. My wife was doing something in the kitchen, and I came into the kitchen. She had her phone playing some, video or something. And this guy was talking about how if people, would be fine without governments. Where do you think the governments come from, you dope, right? This is a right-wing fallacy. That the governments just wreck everything. People are just fine and kind, and they work together. There are a lot of good people naturally, but, they got sucked in by the greed I talked about. Your ancestors got tricked and forced or whatever from leaving their farm and their villages and their tribes and things into the cities and into this, whatever system. But they went along willingly, and most people are addicted to this lifestyle now. And sure, if you go back to a more tribal way of being, but even tribes took slaves. Even tribes had, BS wars and land conquering on a smaller level. There's, the Hatfields and the McCoys. I mean, there's always going to be, feuds and skirmishes on a local level. I mean, so people suck even on a, in a village. There's suckiness in a village as much as there is in a governmental world order like we have now, right? And so it's the people that have to change. It's not the government. It's not the system. Everyone has to change and rise up, and that means fucking you, right? Instead of like thinking that, you have to change the left, or you have to change the right, or you have to change me or somebody, some celebrity. What are you talking about, right? You have one person you can change, and it's you. That's the heartfulness system, the cleaning and transmission to help transform, you working to transform yourself with this idea that you're going to get better, that your performance is going to get better. You're going to rise to a higher level. And so, yeah, like that's the way the truth community has been worked. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.